This car has just 18 horsepower and is smaller than some people's fridges.
0 to 60? Maybe. Top speed? About as fast as your confidence will allow. And yet this tiny little machine became one of the most important cars Europe ever built. And it did something very, very well. It made people happy.
This is the Fiat 500, a car that helped mobilise post-war Italy and somehow became a style icon in the process. And nearly 70 years later, it still makes complete strangers smile. So how can something so small, so slow, and so objectively ridiculous feel so brilliant and be so successful?
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dipstick for the second episode of They Gave Us the Keys. Today we have got an Italian giant in a very small package. This is the Fiat 500, or more specifically the 1973 Fiat 500. And I've got a feeling by the end of today, I'm either going to want one immediately or need counselling after trying to merge onto the North Circular with basically no indicators.
Now, contrary to what you might think, this wasn't designed as a toy or a fashion statement. It launched in 1957 and it arrived at just the right time.
Italy was rebuilding after the war and standards of living were rising. Families wanted freedom, mobility, independence, but they needed something affordable. So Fiat came up with a masterstroke. They made it tiny, they made it cheap, and they made it efficient. They made it simple enough that if it broke, you could probably fix it yourself with basic tools and a strong opinion.
It came with a tiny, rear-mounted, air-cooled two-cylinder engine, which kept the weight incredibly low, around 500 kilos depending on the model. With that, they created a car that could carry ordinary people into a more modern life. That's why the Fiat 500 matters. It's not just transport, it was social progress with a number plate.
Over 4 million Cinquecentos were built, and it came to represent the Dolce Vita. Which means this little thing didn't just succeed, it absolutely conquered and cemented itself as an icon. So while Britain had the Mini, Germany had the Beetle, Italy had this tiny, cheerful, mechanical espresso cup.
Looking at it, it is impossible to dislike. The proportions are absolutely genius. You've got these tiny little wheels pushed right out into the corners, these subtle overhangs, lovely chrome, and obviously the iconic round headlights. And how could we forget the folding canvas roof, which makes every drive feel like a holiday. The whole thing is just so disarming. It just projects joy. On the inside, well, there's not that much going on. It's just the essentials. You've only got about 3 or 4 inches between you and the front passenger, and potentially even less to the people in the rear. But it all feels right. It's not trying to be premium. Everything's just here because it needs to be here. And this one has had a few tasteful upgrades as well. The steering wheel is thicker than the original. The seats have been retrimmed in this warm tan finish. And the carpets have been upgraded with this matching yellow rib around the edges. So rather than being a museum exhibit, this one's the best kind of classic. One that someone has improved and intends to enjoy. And I much prefer that. These kind of cars should be used. And weirdly, with cars like this, the simplicity can start to feel almost luxurious. And yes, there is a heavy bout of nostalgia kicking in again here, somewhat of a theme on this channel. But modern life is so cluttered. Notifications, menus, settings, subscriptions, low battery, direct debit, blah, 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 blah. This is refreshingly free of all of that. You just get in it, start it, and go somewhere. And then you check your phone at the end of it. Bliss. And whilst we're on the starting process, it's actually pretty cool how you start this thing. First, you turn the ignition on. And then you have 2 levers, the choke and the starter. So you put the choke on and then you start it. Beautiful.
So let's hit the road and open this puppy up. On acceleration! Oh. So yeah, this thing is absolutely hilarious because with that roughly 18 horsepower, you use every single one. My foot is basically at full throttle the entire time. There's absolutely no reserve. Every incline requires a strategy, and every overtake requires some kind of planning permission. Because at 25 miles an hour, this thing feels pretty alive. At 35, it's quite exciting. A lot of the time with modern cars, the stats they give you are almost kind of theoretical. I mean, how are you actually ever going to access 0 to 60 in an M3 in Highgate, for instance? With this thing, you can access fun constantly, the entire time you're in it. So it's time for that all-important 0 to 60. Except, there's a problem. Here in London, in this, there's absolutely no way of doing that. And also, kind of misses the entire point of this car.
But the thing I've always loved about old cars is that no two ever seem exactly the same. Sure, they might have left the factory identical, but 50 years later, each one develops its own idiosyncrasies, if you will. They have their own personality. And this Fiat is no different. The gear shift has its own rhythm, the throttle wants a certain touch, the clutch has its own opinion on how smoothly things should happen. Even the noises make it feel specific to this car. So you're not just driving a Fiat 500, you're driving this Fiat 500.
So the verdict. Is the Fiat fast? No. Is it practical? Not really. Is it safe by modern standards? Moving swiftly on. Is it refined? Well, in a way you could say it's pretty tasteful, so maybe, but probably not. But as an experience, it is absolutely sensational, and it definitely proves something.
Fun isn't just horsepower. Character also matters. Charm also matters. And making people smile matters. This little Fiat does all of that so well.
Which is why 70 years after its release, the world still absolutely loves them. And after a day with one, I completely understand why. Thanks very much for watching. Please click like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.